Malaysia 370, morning.
Malaysia 370, standby.
Imagine waking up in the morning, checking the news, and finding out a plane with 239 people has vanished. It didn't explode, it didn't make an emergency landing, and it didn't even send a distress signal. It just vanished as if it were wiped off the face of the earth. To this day, no one knows exactly what happened that night.
Where is Malaysia Airlines Flight 370?
More questions than there are answers.
The hunt for Flight 370 now covers millions of square miles.
The strange thing is that the story most people know is not the weirdest part, because the evidence that emerged after the disappearance revealed that the plane did not go where it was supposed to head. On the contrary, it turned back and kept flying for hours without anyone seeing it. So what really happened? Was it an accident, or did someone on board have a plan from the start? Let's go back to that night. March 8th, 2014. The time was 12:41 past midnight. A Boeing aircraft belonging to Malaysia Airlines took off from Kuala Lumpur Airport heading to Beijing with a flight duration of about 6 hours. Everything was normal, the weather was excellent, the plane was in perfect condition, and even the pilot was one of the most experienced in the company. His name was Captain Zahari Ahmad Shah, and he had over 18,000 flight hours. Everything was going just like any normal flight. There were 239 people on board from different nationalities, students, businessmen, families, and children, and not one of them expected that this was the last night they would see the ground. About 38 minutes after takeoff, the plane reached the border between Malaysian and Vietnamese airspace, and that was the last contact with the control tower. The captain said calmly,
"Good night, Malaysian 370.
A sentence said every day on thousands of flights, with nothing strange about it. But that night, it was the last words anyone on that plane would ever hear. And less than a minute later, the first thing that baffled investigators happened. The main communication system shut down. It vanished from radar screens. At first, no one was surprised. Such glitches can happen. The control tower expected the plane to contact Vietnamese air traffic control shortly, but the surprise was that no one responded. 1 minute passed, then 2, then 5, and still no answer. That is when the worry began, but they did not know that the plane at that moment was not continuing its path to Beijing. Something else was happening, something they did not discover until hours later, and when they did, the course of the investigation changed completely. Actually, when air traffic control lost contact with the plane, everyone assumed it was a simple problem. Perhaps a communication device malfunction or a delay in contacting the next tower. But hours later, information emerged that completely turned the case around. Malaysian military radars were still tracking the plane, and not just tracking it, they were watching it turn back. Instead of continuing toward Beijing, the plane turned 180 degrees and headed back over Malaysia. The strange thing is that this maneuver was not random. It was done naturally and precisely. It passed over populated areas and then continued toward the Andaman Sea. At that moment, it even disappeared from military radar. If the story had ended there, everyone might have believed the plane went down in the sea. But the truth was much stranger than that, because after days of searching, the British satellite company Inmarsat announced it had discovered something no one had noticed, even though the plane's communication devices were turned off. There was another system that kept sending short signals to the satellites, not messages or information about the plane's location, just very simple signals, as if the plane was saying every hour, "I am still here." 7 signals, each about an hour apart, and this means only one thing. The plane did not crash right after it vanished. On the contrary, it kept flying for hours, Now the question became much bigger. If the plane was in the air all that time, why didn't it try to land at any nearby airport? Investigators used all these signals, and with the movement of the satellites, they were able to map out the plane's last probable path. The result was shocking. The plane did not head north toward Asia. It went south toward one of the most isolated places on Earth, the southern Indian Ocean, a vast area with no islands, no busy flight paths, and not even many ships. It is as if the person who chose this path knew that if the plane reached there, the chance of finding it would be almost impossible. And from here, the largest search operation in aviation history effectively began.
Rescue 6-1, establishing search grid.
Hundreds of planes, dozens of ships, and thousands of hours of searching. The sea was hiding everything. During the first few weeks, the whole world was looking for the plane in the wrong place, because everyone was convinced it had continued on its way toward Beijing. But after analyzing satellite data, everything suddenly changed. Search operations moved thousands of kilometers to the southern Indian Ocean, an area considered one of the most difficult places in the world. The waves there are high, the winds are very strong, and the sea depths reach more than 5,000 meters. They used the latest ships, the latest submarines, and seabed scanning equipment, yet no trace of the plane appeared. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and then into years. And the question that baffled the whole world became, how could a plane of this size just disappear like that? About a year and a half later, the first real breakthrough happened. A man walking on the beach of Reunion Island in the Indian Ocean noticed a large piece of metal. At first, no one paid it any mind, but after testing, it was a shock. The piece was part of a wing from flight MH370. Then, other pieces began appearing on the shores of Mozambique, Tanzania, and islands in the Indian Ocean. Each piece confirmed one thing: the plane ended up in the Indian Ocean. But at the same time, it wasn't enough to pinpoint its location. To this day, no one has been able to find the black box, meaning the most important witness to what actually happened is still under the sea. And that is where the theories began. The first theory suggests that the pilot changed the plane's course himself. The reason is that the course change was precise, and the communication device was turned off at a very convenient time. It is as if whoever did it knew the plane systems. There is no message, no confession, not even a voice recording. All the investigators have are mere indicators. Some said maybe a fire broke out inside the plane and they could no longer control it. Others say maybe there was a lack of oxygen and everyone lost consciousness. The plane kept flying on autopilot until the fuel ran out. There are theories about hijacking or military intervention, but at the same time, there is no evidence to prove this. As time and years passed, one thing remained constant. Every theory has a question it cannot answer, and every answer creates a new mystery. After more than 20 years, the MH370 case remains open. All we know is that the plane took off normally, changed its course less than an hour later, and kept flying for many long hours before its journey ended in the southern Indian Ocean. We also know that parts of its wreckage were found. This confirmed that it had indeed crashed. But there is one question no one has been able to answer definitively. Why did the route change? Who was flying the plane at those moments? And why was no distress call sent? If the cause was a malfunction, why didn't the crew try to call for help? And if someone made the decision to change the route, what was their actual goal? All these questions remain unanswered to this day. That is why MH370 is considered one of the greatest aviation mysteries in history. Perhaps the truth lies somewhere thousands of meters below the ocean surface. Or maybe it was there from the start. But we just could not put all the pieces together.